What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another morning edition of the Run Your Mouth podcast. If you are currently sitting in your office and you're able to join us for this fine broadcast, I commend whatever your lifestyle is that you can join us at 10 a.m. And if you're here in the comments, feel free to, let me know that you're here, that you can hear me. It's always nice to know that there's other people out there that don't need to work in the morning. I respect however you're living your lifestyle, that you could be live and joining me right now. That is impressive. And why don't we get right into the news? Because we do have some important topics to address, starting with Jeffrey Zucker. Got fired from his job at CNN, supposedly just having consensual sex with a subordinate. And I think that this raises an important question that all of us need to be asking ourselves. And is it time to be removing women from the workplace? I feel like this is the important topic and conversation that no one else in the media is willing to have. And so we're going to do it here on Run Your Mouth. We are going to address, is it time to remove women from the workplace? Because here's what you have to consider. Earlier this year, Cuomo, he got off entirely. Literally, the prosecutor looked it over and he goes, there's no tits grabbing here. There's no case. I'd love to prosecute you. It would be fun, but I got to throw this thing out. And that comes after multiple women accused him of sexual assault. Here's just some of the women. Are these women unable to handle high profile jobs that they can't work at these offices and not just accuse their higher ups of sexual assault or make their vaginas available to them and then later be like, hey, you had power over me. You can't just be, taking this vagina when I offered it to you. I mean, this is madness. And I'm not saying I don't think that women shouldn't work. I don't want to work. So I would love to marry a lady that did all the working part. That would be great. Are you kidding me? I'd love to find some Jewy Dr. Broad. I pump some cum into her. She has a child. My mom's all happy that I found some Jew broad. She's got the doctor money, so she can afford, raising the child. So I'm all for women in the workplace. And so your first thing you might think is, well, should we just hire ugly women? Which is a reasonable thought. That's where my brain went first. I was like, listen, how do we have solutions here? How do we keep women in jobs and also not just end up with sexual assault claims against us? But here's the problem with hiring ugly women. In this case, it didn't even work. Zucker was ahead of you on this one. And even that didn't keep him from losing his high profile job on sexual assault claims. So let's dig in a little bit. So here you go. You got the feller. And his statement was, I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. And as a result, I'm resigning today. And does anyone actually believe this story? People out there listening, do you actually believe this story? Is this really what Jeffrey Zucker is going down for? I have questions. First one is, where did Jeffrey Zucker actually put his penis? I mean, the irony of that, you work at a news network and we can't actually get the news on what you did. I want to know. I'd like to know where this man actually put his penis. Was it in male colleagues? Was pizza or kids involved? How deep does this go? How deep is the sexual perversion at CNN running, and why can't we get actual coverage on it? I don't believe for 1 second that this was just some consensual relationship. And if it is, then we've got a different issue on our hands, which are bald Jews not allowed to fornicate. Is it automatically assumed that when you see some bald Jew who works in news, that it must be that something creepy happened? Like, it's almost like when you get one of those forensic accounting people and they're looking at the books and they're like, someone's clearly cooking the books. You get someone in HR, they see a picture of this dude and they're like, wait, he's getting laid? We better go look into this. There must be something screwy going on here. So either we have a problem in our society of bigotry towards the bald Jew and an assumption that he cannot get laid, or we got an issue of women in the workplace that they just can't be there without making claims of sexual assault or entrapping their bald, people above them with their vaginas and saying, hey, you can have sex with me. And then later being like, hey, you weren't supposed to do that. So here's what I think the real story is. We live in a new world where, for some reason, if you're in the left, you can't just be fired for doing a bad job. I mean, you got this guy, he's supposed to be running a propaganda network and no one's watching it. You know how much money the CIA and the deep state is giving this guy to get out there and sell us on war and sell us on the fact that everyone needs to get shots? I mean, they've put a lot of money into convincing all of us of a lot of stuff. They're not convincing us of anymore. No one's watching the damn thing. And so at some point, when, 90% of your overall audience in the coveted 25 to 54 demographic is listening to Joe Rogan and snorting ivermectin because we can't responsibly get them good news, then you got to go. So I think the guy's just getting fired. And for some reason, like if you just say it's women related, you got to believe all women. You're not allowed to ask any questions. You just get removed from your post. It's almost the easiest way to just walk back the operation and just be like, oh yeah, it was women stuff. Cuomo too. He gets away with killing old people. You don't have to do an investigation on that. You don't have to do an investigation on how the guy gets an Emmy for doing, just spends his entire life on the news telling everyone in the world that they're going to die and that we need ventilators that we didn't need and we need boats that we didn't need. So instead of looking into all of that, you just you go, hey, it's women's stuff, no questions asked, and then they leave their jobs. And is this new social standards going to be a problem for how is anyone going to keep their job? I mean, if you can't just invoke the Holocaust or have sex with the other people that you're working with, how's anyone going to keep their job? Are any of us going to be able to keep to these standards? And then I guess the one thing is, before we start, making clear cut changes and we address these rules, hopefully they fire this guy. Hopefully, because he knew about this. And if you're working at a job where your boss is having sex with the subordinate, even when it's consensual, it is your obligation to go to HR and make sure that they're in the know. And firstly, you know what I realized with Brian Stelter? I think he's trying to cover up his chin fat. So he always kind of looks like a villain, like he just kind of looks like he's got like that Dr. Evil thing going on. And is there anything that you would love more than knowing that Brian Stelter got fired, was never able to work a job again, because, he's into all this wokeism stuff and he didn't report his boss to HR, which is your responsibility. You care about women or what? I would love to see him alone at night at a diner. And I wouldn't give him a heart. I would just say, hey, what's up, man? I missed your show. That's what I would say. I would be nice about it. I'd pretend like I missed his show. All right. What are some other news stories that we got here? Oh, here's one positive takeaway. I want to give you guys one positive takeaway as we give misinformation and we try and explore why women are even still allowed to have jobs, and if they can handle being in the workplace without ruining it for men. The real lesson to be learned is just, if you're going to creep on women at work, make sure that your other friends don't creep on women at work. You're more likely to get caught, because if one of them gets caught, they start tattling on you and they're like, well, how come that guy's not getting in trouble? Why am I the only one who's getting in trouble for being a creep at work? And then all of a sudden, everyone's getting in trouble for being a creep. So here's what you got to do. You got to fly solo. You got to have other friends that are really respectful of women. And that way you can kind of float under the radar, because everyone's like, oh, well, he's with those guys and those guys are cool. I don't know if there's a practical message there. All right, let's move on to some other news topics. There's still talk about us going to war with Ukraine. Here's what I think's really going on. I don't think Russia wanted to invade Ukraine. I think Biden's trying to get a victory here. And so he's pretending like, I really stood up to that Putin guy. If it wasn't for me, he was going to go in there. It's like he's trying to be a badass, where he's like, I'm warning you not to go in there. And he's like, I wasn't even going to go in there. It's like if I started screaming at the people in the hallway, there was like some chick over here, I wanted to impress her. And I was like, hey, I don't want you guys coming over here at night and knocking on my door anymore. And then at 2 a.m, you're like, look, none of the neighbors knocked on my door. You see, my authority is being respected in this building. These guys know what's up. I think that's what Biden's doing. He's inflation's out of control. He's shutting down the supply lines while complaining about the supply lines. Energy prices are going up because he got rid of pipelines that we need. Things are not going great for this Biden guy. So what he does is he goes, hey, listen, I warned that Putin fella that if he goes into that, and then he gets to turn around and go, look, they didn't even go into Ukraine. Look at how good of a job I did in keeping him from going to Ukraine. You want to know how sure I am that nothing's probably popping off? Is that we're currently kicking people out of the army who are refusing to get the vaccine, which doesn't even make sense. If you think that the virus is so bad, people are going to die of it, why would we get the disposable people out of the army? I mean, if these people are dead men walking, why not put them on the front line? And that way, people that were otherwise going to survive because they got vaccinated, why would you put those people on the front line? You got perfectly disposable people that have like extra volunteered for death because they were going to take the risk with the virus. They were going to die anyway. So you might as well have those people on the front line. Why would you be like, hey, you're living such a dangerous and deadly lifestyle that we can't even let you die for us? All right, well, good job. So I hope we do go to war and no one vaccinates, and then Biden, I don't know. I don't know really know where that's going. All right, here's another news story. Biden relaunches cancer moonshot, aiming to reduce death rate by 50% in 25 years. And I know how he can accomplish this. There's two ways that Biden can accomplish this. The first is he goes back in time to when we shut down the country and everyone actually gets their cancer diagnosis and treatment. And that's one way that you can reduce cancer deaths is you go back in time. You don't pretend like the virus is as deadly as it is. People actually see their doctors, they get treatment. And then in the future, you have less cancer. You have, or you go back in time to where everyone stayed in their houses, lost their jobs, got stressed out, ate, drank, and watched Netflix a whole bunch. And then that might reduce cancer too. But if you can't do all that, then here's another thing that you can do is you got to keep rolling out new viruses and then just counting the cancer deaths towards that. Because if you keep just counting the cancer deaths and going, well, it's actually this virus that we're you just keep doing what they did with COVID. And then 25 years from now, no one's dying of cancer. Everyone's dying of some new disease. But lucky for you, if you get vaccinated, you'll die from something that's not cancer. And then before you know it, so it's just a function of accounting. I can help you out with this, Biden. You want to email me, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I will get other Jew accountants on the books. We will get every single death registered under some other fake disease so that you guys can push more vaccines. Now, we will help you out on this. Now, Biden, just in case you guys thought we were the good guys in the world, Biden, he's all pleased with themselves. He killed some ISIS leader and some raid in Syria, which is pretty badass. It's pretty badass to go into a country that we're not at war with, just fucking show up and be like, we're going to off some guy. It's pretty cool. I'd like to watch the movie of this, just secret force operations, Arnold Schwarzenegger type shit, rolling into some city with some helicopters and just fucking up some terrorists, except we killed a bunch of kids. I mean, that's the part that they don't show you in the Hollywood Disney movie, because then it's not as fun when, you just got your one opportunity. How many kids do we kill? Well, 13 people have been killed. I don't know how many of those were even terrorists. And then 6 children and 4 women. So, the better movie is when they grow up and then they try and get their vengeance. So just in case you thought that we were the good guys in the world, and now Biden is planning on getting on television to celebrate this. It's not even like, oh shit, we better not say anything about this because we killed a bunch of kids in the process. It's actually, hey, we need to have a press conference because that was a successful mission. And there you are. We're the good guys in the world. Big old smiles, everybody. All right, that's the end of the news stories that I had for today. I did get a couple from people on Twitter. Hopefully this will be the new format. You guys do the work for me. About 8 a.m., I'll tweet out if you got any news stories. You guys give me the news stories. I'll give you a quick take. So, but before we do that, let's plug some of our sponsors. Here, let me pull this down for a second so everyone can see that my beautiful sheath banner. Because, I'm going to have to find a new placement for that. It keeps getting blocked. You see that lovely sheath banner? It tells you to stop and make sure that your nuts are protected. I should start putting this up on street corners. So when people are driving around and then, like their balls and shit are like all up in the car, they're trying to adjust and they get into accidents. There it is. Stop. Make sure you're wearing sheath. Make sure that everything's in place and make sure that you can drive your car comfortably without having to either sit on your nuts or for it to be all stop. Get yourself some sheath. Promo code RYM. You get 20% off. And on the other side, right? Team Kratom on the green corner, $60 kilos. Makes you cool, calm, and collected, So if you're over the age of 21. All right, now we go into fan stories. First one coming from Fat Dave, who's no longer Fat Dave. Now he's fat phobic. I guess he lost the weight and he doesn't like fat people anymore. I feel like that's even meaner. I liked Fat Dave. I liked when you were out there crushing the sandwiches. All right, here we go. 2 New York nurses arrested for selling COVID-19 vaccines for $1.5 million in profit. All right, so first let's go with the positive takeaway here. Some ugly women were making some money. That's not easy to do. So that's pretty cool of them. Also, the fact that they were able to make $1.5 million would suggest to me that there was a fair amount of demand for these fake COVID cards. And I can't imagine that they're the only people that were making fake COVID cards. So hopefully there's a lot of fake COVID cards out there. Maybe the whole record keeping is off. And that's somewhat promising if there's really no way for them to kind of validate whether or not you were legitimately or not legitimately vaccinated. With that being said, it seems like they got a little bit greedy. Sounds like $1.5 million means that you sold a few too many of these cards. You were probably kind of dumb about it, maybe publicizing that you were going about doing this. So it seems like they took their operation a little bit too far. You're going to do shit that's illegal. You got to be a little bit more hush-hush about it. and you need like mediocre profits. If you're turning $1.5 million in a year, you're gonna have an issue. All right, let's see what else we got. I know I got a couple more here. Weaver plant. People got questions. There's this plant, all sorts of toxins in the air. And I'm no health expert or anything, but just get away from the plant. If you're out in this area and you needed to watch this news broadcast to know that you shouldn't just wait around for this thing to explode, and you shouldn't listen to the health authorities that are telling you that it's less toxic than it is. Like, think about what happened in Flint. You know, they're giving people fucking green water and go, no, it's not green. You're crazy. It's perfectly good water. That's just extra fluorides that your teeth will be extra healthy. Or you look at the asbestos shit that happened with the World Trade Centers. They're like, no, the air down there, it's perfectly good. You're smelling anything bad. It's just more homeless people. We've moved more homeless people into the issue. So don't worry about any of the dust or other shit in the air. So just don't listen to them. I don't know anything about this story. I don't even know where it's taking place. But if there's some chemical plant that's probably going to explode in the near future, I'm sure they're lying to you about the current. Dude, once happened to me. I came in from, I think I went to the gym, came home super thirsty. I turn on the sink at home, and I have like a colored, like a pink or whatever. I have like a colored, the outside of this water bottle has a color to it. I fill this whole thing up and I chug an entire big ass bottle of water. Do it again, chug another big ass thing of water. I then go to the bathroom, I take a piss, and I flush it, and I realize like the fucking toilet's like purple or something. And then I go run the sink. I realize the sink is running purple water. Then I go back to the kitchen and I run the sink and I fill up a glass. It is fucking purple water. And then I realized I just drank like a whole fucking gallon of purple water. I had no idea that it was purple water because I was drinking out of like the outside of a plastic. I'm not describing it that well. It was like a plastic thermos, but the outside was like blue or something. So it was like see-through blue, but I couldn't tell that I was drinking purple water when I was dehydrated. So I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. What the fuck did the water company do? And I got a nervous Jewish mom. So most of the time you don't want to bring, but like sometimes something like this, she goes into panic mode. So we start calling the water company. What the fuck did you just put in my son? I wish I was a kid when this happened. I think it was over Corona when I was living at home. But what the fuck did you just put into my son? You poisoned the kid. And he's never going to be able to procreate, or find one of these Jewish doctor ladies and put a baby in her so that he doesn't have to work. And then, of course, the water company let everyone know, I guess whatever they were doing, they're like, it's perfectly fine. It's just, if I get cancer in 10 years, I'm telling you, it was that water. Of course, they go, hey, there's nothing to worry about. We just tried some new fluoride. There was a little bit of discoloration and it's going to go. Of course, they said that. I would say that if I own the company and you fucked up one day and you're like, shit, a bunch of people are going to drink this purple water. Like, how else are you going to handle that situation? You don't want to admit that there was something wrong with the purple water. At that point, you already put purple water into people. You might as well wait until they sue you and make them prove that the purple water was there. How am I going to prove in 10 years from now when I got cancer it was the purple water? There's no way to know. So all I'm saying is if you're anywhere near this chemical plant, just don't be. I mean, that seems like a simple enough rule. Just don't be around the chemical plant and don't believe them when they tell you that there aren't that many chemicals out there. All right. I believe that this is the last news story of the day. It came from high fiber intake. Hell yeah, dude. Make that morning diarrhea. And billionaire John Malone, not familiar with him, said CNN needs actual journalists. And, as a business guy, you would think that this billionaire would understand that CNN is a propaganda network. They're not looking for real journalists. That's not their business model. They're taking money from the CIA, from pharmaceutical companies, from Boeing. They're trying to get, they're not trying to get you real journalism. So no, they don't need real journalism. That's you would think as a businessman, this guy, John Malone, would have a better understanding of how TV news networks. That's why Newsmax isn't making any money. He doesn't realize where the actual money is. All right, let's take a couple of comments here, and then we're going to call it a morning. Robbie, is there anything worse than taking a shit with the jacket on? Why aren't you just taking the jacket off? What situation are you in? Even suit jackets, usually there's a hook. It's terrible when you go into a bathroom stall and they don't have a good hook for hanging your jacket. And then you got to figure out where you're placing the thing so that you're not getting other people's shit on it. Because when I shit, it's mostly in the toilet. But I know that these other people, they're getting a little bit of their shit on them where the toilet paper is, a little bit on the walls. You peek into the stalls at airports to see how other people are doing their shitting, and they're just getting it all over the place. So you really got to be careful. And if there isn't a hook, the people that design those bathrooms are messing up. Fat Dave, purple water gives AIDS. Well, lucky for me, I already have the AIDS. So if that's all that the purple water does to you, I should be in the clear. Highly doubtful, but it's a nice excuse. That goes back to an earlier news story. So I don't know what that was in reference to. And I'd love to take more comments from the chat, but the production team over here is saying that we've reached our time, and so we got to call it an episode. I will be back maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna probably be in the shed tonight, so I might go hard and decide that I don't want to do an episode tomorrow. So we're gonna call it there. Everyone, have a great day.